Hello everyone and welcome to Sportsballin. I'm Dylan Simmons, joined by the Kirk Herbstreit and Pat McAfee to my Reese Davis and Evan Snyder and Ryan Martinelich. As Lee Shang once said, let's get down to business. The Tennessee Titans moved to 6-3 against the Denver Broncos on Sunday after scoring just 17 on the day. The defense was again superb by only allowing 10 points, the Mile High Teen. The question I have, guys, is was this more about the Titans' impressive play or the Broncos' dedication to bad football?
I think you still got to give credits to the Titans' defense, all right? They were only able to shut down Broncos 10 points. Of course, it's not saying much. Russell Wilson has struggled all season, but he still put up 280 passing yards. But I think we have to see that the reemergence of Ryan Tannehill for these Titans actually just proved a point that I'm going to make later on, that you don't have to really worry too much about the Titans at the moment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Ryan Tannehill got it done. The rushing game for the Titans was not that strong. We had Derrick Henry, 19 carries, only had 59 yards.
Yep.
And Hilliard only had 1 carry for 2 yards. And when we'll talk about Malik Willis's 1 carry for -7. But it is what it is.
Not good.
Yeah, not good at all.
No.
Tannehill threw for 255 yards, 2 passing TDs on the day as well. And like Ryan mentioned, the Titans defense absolutely locked it down, totaling 6 sacks and 1 pick as well. On top of that, not much offense still on both sides. No, like Ryan made a really good point about Russell Wilson. Hasn't been playing like he has been the past couple years. Maybe it's the new system with the Broncos. Maybe it's just not working out for him. But definitely got to say the Titans did step up huge here.
They might have stepped up, but to me, they're the ugly barnacle of football. And if you've seen SpongeBob, you know how that story is going to end. The problem with Tennessee is they always seem to play crummy opponents. I challenge you to find an opponent that they have beaten thus far that's really good. Their best win is against a 4-5 Commanders team that's losing as we speak to the Eagles. So I don't see them being an elite team. They can't hang with the best, and I think that's the problem. Tannehill threw for 255 yards, but it took him 36 pass attempts to do just that. It shows he's a little bit weaker under the pressure, and I don't think that they've got the ceiling right now. And as for Russell Wilson, I mean, this guy, he should be saying Broncos Nation. Instead of saying let's ride, it should be Broncos Nation, let's cry, because this team just doesn't have it right now. I don't think the Titans prove much, and I just don't think that they're the team that they need to be to reach that next level, but I'll get more into that later. Anything else you guys want to say on that one?
I think Westbrook-Akine really helped out Tannehill. Once again, finding a stable wide receiver against any defense is going to help, especially these Titans offense trying to move the ball without having to rely heavily on Derrick Henry. I think that was the biggest thing right there.
And also, too, Austin Hooper contributed a decent amount, too. Had a couple catches there. I believe he had about 50 yards or so on the day.
Right.
So, overall, you just got to look. And also, too, there's a couple other receivers that had about 30, 40 yards as well mixed in there. So, in total, the passing game for the Titans finally worked. It took them 10 weeks for it to finally work. So let's hope they can keep it consistent and also pair it really well with the running game, too.
Consistency is definitely going to be the key to the Titans. We'll see if it pans out for them. The Nashville Predators are back like Aaron Rodgers versus the Cowboys as they took down the New York Rangers on Saturday. It was not the usual suspects of Nino or Forsberg, but lesser-known players, such as Mark Jankowski, who made an impact by scoring goals. Fellas, is this the start of a Predators reemergence?
I want to be careful about saying that. I think they just ran into a Rangers team that's just kind of struggling this season, especially these last couple games. I do want to say finally that defense finally kind of clamped down, only giving up 1 goal on, I believe, 30 shot attempts from the Rangers. So really impressive defense. They really were keeping it their zone away from the Rangers and making sure that they weren't giving up 5-6 goals like we've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's been the key with it, too. The goaltending by Juuse Saros was absolutely impeccable. This guy had a point, I can't remember, .971, I believe, save percentage. Yeah, absolutely incredible. It was unbelievable what he was able to do. You see some of the highlights here. Saros, an absolutely incredible player, and right now, though, the Preds just look like an incredible team. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's kind of a shock that the Preds did win this game. You look at it, the Preds only shot 18 shots on goal.
Right.
To 35 for the Rangers. Like, you see stuff like that, you see teams winning by at least 5 or 6 goals, not by 1 goal nevertheless. But I would say the Preds did have some very well-timed goals, some really good shots by Jankowski. Really good one as well. Juuse Saros as well. Played really well. He finally played like the goaltender he needs to be playing like. He is the workhorse for this team.
Yes.
There is no other option. He is the guy. And again, that .971 save percentage, and only allowed 1 goal, and it was a pretty good play for the Rangers. They just sneaked it past the defensive zone for the Predators, and it was a nice little shot front of goal. And as well, too, the defense for the Predators as well played really, really well. Had a couple block shots that were really, really nice block shots as well that also helped UC be this successful.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, sorry not to cut you off.
No,
there,
you're
Dylan,
good,
but
yeah.
was just moving forward, they still want to try to get more shots on goal. All right, 18 shots is not a great number. Yeah, you scored 2 goals, but you definitely want to push the pressure on in your attack zone and making sure you're just getting more pucks on net.
Yeah, you want to apply the pressure, and I think that goes back to this. I think Yusei Saros, he was as unstoppable as an angry Donald Duck whenever he's on the rise. He played some great goaltending. I love what I saw. And again, it was the role players, guys like Jankowski, who we don't normally see. It wasn't the usual formula, and I think that is a big sign for the Predators because there's going to be nights where Saros isn't going to be that goaltender, and I think that's the biggest question I have. Can they contend? Can they still play the same way? Saros can't bail them out every time. We saw it. It's not like he's going to have that same performance every night. This is one of the first times he's actually been able to do this all season. So it's going to be crucial for him to, and really the rest of the team, to respond and use this as a way to figure out who they are as a team. We'll have to see more goal scoring, but this isn't a bad Rangers team. I mean, remember, guys, they made the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Oh, yeah.
So they're a really good team. Absolutely no shame in what the Predators did. Going to be an interesting team to look out for in the future. We'll see how that all shakes out. The Preds and Titans have Nashville more excited than people at a bachelorette party in downtown. When we come back, we will go west to see how the Grizzlies stacked up against the NBA's latest test. All that and more when we come back on Sportsballin. Stick around.
To pose, now shush. She makes the sound she makes to calm me down. She makes the sound she makes me. She makes the sound she makes me deep in the North Sea.
I'm here. Can you see me? Because I feel like I'm invisible. Like this whole place is invisible. If it weren't for the nightly news, no one would even think of this place. But down here, things look different. Down here, our spirits are bright and our dreams are vivid. And if given a chance, that's what the world would see.
In the past 50 years, we've made a lot of progress in smoking prevention. But if we don't do more, 1 out of every 13 children alive today will die early from smoking. That's 5.6 million precious lives we can save. Together, we can make the next generation tobacco-free.
Welcome back. The Grizzlies replicated their real-life counterparts by showing they were above the food chain against the Timberwolves. Ja Morant and Desmond Bane combined for an earth-shattering 52 points that ran Minnesota off the hardwood. Guys, despite the lukewarm play of their opponent, what does this game tell you about Memphis's progression?
That they're still relying on 2 players in Desmond Bane and Ja Morant. Look, I think it's still a winning formula right now. I still want to see some ball movement towards the zone, especially trying to get Adams more involved. I think it could be a potential threat. But I'm liking at least the offensive progression with these 2 guys on the court. They're really moving the ball well. They're doing a great job ball reversal, especially when it's between the 2 of them. They're really working together in a great tandem. But I just want to see more out of the big guys, all right? Dylan Brooks and Steven Adams. I think that's going to really show the West what these Grizzlies can be.
Oh yeah, you excuse me. You did bring up Dillon Brooks and Adams. Brooks still had 21 points, 4 rebounds, so he did contribute a decent amount to this Grizzlies win. I think personally they probably should have blown the Timberwolves more out of the water, especially how good a performance coming in from Desmond Bane. But you know, it is what it is. That's basketball sometimes.
Right.
And then Adams too. He had 9 rebounds, 3 assists. He did have a steal and a block, but only managed to score 3 points. So it goes back to Ryan's point. You know, you got to really get Adams involved more. Sure, he's not really known as a scorer. He doesn't really score too many points. He's like a Dennis Rodman basically for the Grizzlies, where he just gets rebounds, gets boards, and gets assists, and gets steals every now and then. But you got to think the big man really has to start contributing. Same with the 3 and the 4 spot. They also really start contributing more as well. And if they do that, this Grizzlies team could possibly be untouchable.
Right, and I think Memphis, they made the T-Wolves into house dogs from what we saw, because Bane and Morant were absolute beasts out there, played some great basketball, and I think that's going to be the key. They need both of those guys to perform on a nightly basis, which is going to be tricky because you're talking about 2 guys who have good nights, but they also have off nights where they're not going to be as elite. So like we mentioned with the Preds, it's all about having other players also get into the progression, as you mentioned, Ryan. We'll see if they're going to be able to do that, but I do think that Bane is starting to emerge into that secondary guy. We've discussed it for weeks on end. Really starting to show what he's made of. 24 points, nothing to sneeze at. Morant, of course, we know how he is. He's a generational talent, in my opinion. 28 points. He puts the Pelicans to shame for drafting Zion Williamson in the draft. I'm sorry, it's the truth. The man is an absolute unit out there. He's playing great basketball. He's making things happen, and I think that really shows the strength of this Grizzlies team.
I mean, no disrespect there, Dylan. I do have to disagree. I think Zion Williams just not being able to play through injury has really hurt the Pelicans. So they're about to show what a former Duke Blue Devil what it's all about. Ooh. But I do think that Ja is a generational talent. He is definitely given the Grizz hope, and he's just a great on-court general.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I think we'll see how that all plays out, and that's going to lead into our next segment, actually, because things were not quite as smooth in our nation's capitals. It became as contested as the midterm elections against the Washington Wizards on Sunday. The Grizzlies lacked their top 2 in Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, and as a result, lacked a knockout punch, which lost them the game 102-92. Does the lack of Bane and Morant leave the Grizzlies without a bite, Ryan?
Yes. Straightforward, simple as that. Yes.
There you go.
I mean, it's once again just without the 2 dynamic duo right there in Bane and Morant, you're losing out on that scoring opportunity. I mean, once again, we talked about that last game. They combined 18 for 41 in field goals. All right, so they're getting their offense production is always going to be missed when one, if not both, are on the court. They were able to get Adams more involved, but a lot of turnovers, especially in the second half, really kind of led to the loss there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, not a single player for the Grizzlies had over 20 points. The closest was Dillon Brooks, who had 19, 4 rebounds and 2 assists. And again, it kind of just shows that if you at least don't have one of those guys in the lineup, this Grizzlies team, sure, they can compete. It was a pretty close game against the Wizards, but at the end of the day, it's the Washington Wizards. They've been kind of hit or miss the past couple years. And you really got to think, though, one of these guys have to be Desmond Bane or Ja Morant have to be out on the court for this team to be successful.
I will say this. I do think that the Washington Wizards are a team that they're not the worst team in the world. And you got to remember, the Grizzlies kept this relatively close. So it's not like they got blown out. They kept things close. And yes, they didn't have their 2 best players on the court. But again, if the Nets, if the Celtics, if the Warriors, if they didn't have their 2 best players on the court, then I think it'd be the same result. So I'm not going to penalize Memphis too much. I still think they're a good team. Memphis will have to retool themselves soon in a stacked Western Conference. When we come back, we will have heat that even a Charizard could not handle, as we have our hot takes of the week. Come right back here on Sportsballin.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
the black truck. Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rev up those fryers because it's time for our hot takes. Chef Ryan, what's cooking in your kitchen?
Well, Dylan, right now we're working on a dish called the Titans fan base needs to stop worrying about the QB situation.
Okay.
I think Ryan Tannehill coming back has really supplemented the Titans offense, especially when the ground game was down and out. All right, Derrick Henry only going 19 carries for 53 yards. He also had help from Westbrook-Ikine.
Yes.
So finding a solid wide receiver and even a tight end in Austin Hooper is going to help a pass game. All right, it's not Malik Willis, it's not Logan Woodside. When you have a field general like Tannehill, who is calm and collected in the pocket, who can find his number 1 and number 2 receivers, and can make the throws when necessary, 2 touchdowns, don't forget, 255 yards.
Fair enough.
They can move the ball effectively. So the passing game is there, the offense is there, Tannehill is the guy moving forward. Simple as that.
Yeah, you definitely got to think Malik Willis, when you get to start, maybe it's just a little bit too early for him to actually start seeing NFL action because, I mean, look at what he did at Liberty. He did some really electrifying stuff there at his time. And I just don't think he was really ready for the NFL level. And even Tannehill even said himself, he's not mentoring him, he's not tutoring him. Tannehill's working on his own game. And I think this game against the Broncos has finally shown that Tannehill's hard work is finally starting to play off. Coming off of an injury as well. I think you probably do need a little bit more time before Malik Willis does be the starter. I am going to eat my words a little bit of my hot take a couple weeks ago where I said Malik Willis will be the starter by, I think it was like week 7 or 8, I said.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
I was partly right, but it was due to injury. But yeah, after seeing what he did, I don't think he's ready to be an NFL talent yet. And I think Tannehill is still the Titans quarterback for the next couple years.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem. Not only is he not ready, but the Titans absolutely need to panic about their quarterback situation because Ryan Tannehill, I've always said it, he's got an obvious ceiling. He can only take you so far. He could win you 1, maybe even 2 playoff games, but he is not going to make a Super Bowl. He's not going to beat the Chiefs. He's not going to beat the Bills, despite what the Bills look like on Sunday. They don't have the team if Tannehill's not elevating them to the next level. That defense alone could take them places, but they don't have the quarterback talent right now, and that's the biggest issue. Keeping it short and sweet, but he's like Andy from The Office. He can get to regional manager, but he's never going to reach those Michael Scott levels of excellence as general manager.
You don't think Tannehill could have beaten the Chiefs?
He's not.
I mean, they almost beat the Chiefs with Willis struggling. I think Tannehill could have done it.
All right, Evan, what is your hot take?
All right, so we're going to transfer back to talking about the Preds.
Okay.
Sure, they're coming off a win against the Rangers, but the Preds will not make the postseason or the playoffs.
All right.
It's just been abysmal so far. Sure, they're coming off of a pretty big win against the Rangers, but they just haven't been playing that good. The power play unit has not been that good. Power kill has been UC Saros has been hit or miss. Their backup goaltender has been hit or miss. The goal production is not there for Phil Forsberg and Johansson and all those guys. I generally just don't think the Preds have what it takes. Also, you look at this Western Conference in the NHL, absolutely stacked.
Yes.
Not only in the Central Division, where you do have the Vegas Golden Knights, you have the Colorado Avalanche, who won the Stanley Cup last year. You also have the Winnipeg Jets, who are on fire right now. The Dallas Stars are also on fire. All 4 or 5 of those teams can easily make the playoffs. Then you go over to the Pacific, the Seattle Krakens. Surprisingly, are also playing really good after coming off of a not so great first season in the NHL. You have the Knights, or the Kings, that are playing very well. And just this whole division, this whole conference is just stacked. And I don't think, honestly, the Preds have what it takes to compete with all those teams.
Yeah, I think you don't want to hit the panic button too early. I mean, it is only 15 games in the season for the Preds right now, so plenty of time to make up for it, especially before the All-Star break. Yeah, plenty of time. I do agree they definitely need to figure out something with their power play offense.
Yeah.
They spend too many minutes in the penalty box. We got to clean that up too. So, but it's still too early to really say, do I have to be worried about a postseason berth?
I think you absolutely have to be worried. I agree 100% with Evan on this one because I don't think this team has the strength as a unit so far. Their biggest issue right now, they're not finding the goal scoring that they need to. Forsberg has been their lead goal scorer, but at the end of the day, they're not using Nino Niederreiter as much as they should. And I've also a lack of performance from Matt Duchene. I mean, we're not that far from removed from this guy being a key contributor to the Colorado Avalanche, and now all of a sudden he comes to Nashville. He had a good season last year, but now it's just like he's a different guy, and I don't know why we're not seeing the same out of him. But I think the biggest thing holding this team back, John Hines, and I've said it before, I think he needs to be fired. I just don't think he's the guy. He's never shown me enough to really prove that he is a Stanley Cup pedigree coach, and I think that's going to be what holds them back at the end. John Hines can't do it. I think at the end of the day, he's like Jeff Saturday to the Colts. He'll give you moments of hope, and I think Saturday is going to crash and burn too, but that's a hot take for another time. But at the end of the day, he just doesn't have that championship pedigree, and that's the issue. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lead into my hot take, which is going to be, guys, that my Boston Celtics will win the 2023 NBA championship, and I'm going to tell you exactly why right now. Okay, this is a team of destiny and revenge. Last year, we were jobbed out. We were unfairly given a loss by the Golden State Warriors because they have, again, the most stacked roster in the NBA. Sorry that they got Jordan Poole, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, all these great players, Iguodala, Draymond Green. Oh my goodness, it's just way too unfair. Well, guess what? The Warriors aren't good this year. They're out of the picture. Boston is playing out of their minds right now. Jason Tatum, he's averaging 32.2 per game. That's third in the NBA. We've got Jaylen Brown, one of the best perimeter shooters in the league right now. The only team that can really challenge Boston to me is the Milwaukee Bucks. And guess what, guys? We beat them last year in the NBA playoffs. I know they didn't have Chris Middleton, but to me, I think the Celtics team is just playing at a much better level. I think right now, they're just the best team in the NBA. They've won so many in a row. I don't see how this team doesn't go far in the playoffs. I think they're going to win the NBA title, but what do you guys say?
Evan, should I, or do you want to go first?
Well, I was actually going to back him up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I wanna hear
as a Boston Red Sox fan, I got to support the Boston team a little bit here. You got to think. Dylan did bring up some really good points.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown, one of the best perimeter shooters right now. Tatum is absolutely popping off as well. So this Celtics team, it's honestly been multiple years in the making, and I finally think they probably do have the key ingredients
Thank you to Billy King for all those draft picks.
Exactly.
Yes.
They definitely do have the key ingredients, I feel like, to actually make a playoff run and make it deep into the playoffs and make it to the finals again. Because really the only teams that can compete against them, the Bucks, and then honestly the other team I'd probably say is the Miami Heat.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of indifferent. I think right now the Eastern Conference is as easy as it's going to be right now for the Celtics to just pretty much trample all through it, especially in the playoffs. The Nets are, I think, done already. I think there's too much going around in with that team right now.
Too much turmoil.
I do have to say the Heat are probably going to be the biggest competitors right now for the Celtics. Whether or not they're going to win it, I don't know. But I do have to say I don't mind rooting for the Celtics, especially with Grant Williams starting now for the Celtics.
That's right.
So go all Vols. All right, I'm rooting for you, especially Kennedy Chandler. You got to step it up there for the Grizz. I want to see it. But I'm just kind of indifferent to the idea. I think it's possible. I just think there's so much talent on the West side that could stop the Celtics, especially the Suns, Clippers.
Warriors,
I think there's, even though the Warriors are right now at a losing record, I think there's just too much talent on the Western side to just give the Celtics the championship right now.
I know you say that, but actually I'm going to lead into that. Who do you guys think is going to represent the West this year?
The Suns. I think that's.
You think Phoenix?
I think that's the only team that makes sense right now.
Chris Paul he's choking though.
It's very early.
I would say the Suns, unless the Warriors. I mean, again, it's still early in the NBA season as well. Maybe the Warriors turn it back around because Stephen Curry, again, is one of the greatest, not the greatest, but one of them, greatest point guards and shooters in the NBA. Partly me just wants to say the Warriors because of how good they have been, but I kind of have to agree with Ryan on this one. I think the Suns would probably definitely represent the West.
I'm going to say the Dallas Mavericks. That's going to be my final pick. Celtics Mavericks, but we'll see what happens.
That'd be an interesting matchup.
Yeah. All right, guys. That was Blue Star Levels of Heat. When we come back, it's time to answer the Howie Mandel question of deal or no deal with our picks of the week. Stay tuned on Sportsballin.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. home to their mountains and valleys, home to their families and friends, home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, pet them, care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can bring them with you wherever you go. You can jump, yell, hide and go seek, play dress up, or not. Go for a walk, or not. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that. But you can adopt one. 'Cause we're connected. We're connected.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Welcome back to Sports Ballin'. It's now time for the picks of the week. First up, we've got Grizzlies at Pelicans, guys.
Well, Dylan, we talked about this foregone matchup. Zion Williamson, Ja Morant. Who's going to come out on top? Desmond Bane's day-to-day right now. Ja Morant could still play, but
yes,
give me the Pelicans.
Okay.
Give me the Grizzlies. You know, sure, maybe their key players are going to be injured, but if Ja plays, we talked about it. Maybe he shows the Pelicans, hey, you should have drafted me.
I'm taking Memphis in this one. I actually do think the Grizzlies pull this one out. Even without their star players, I think they've got a little extra in this one. Next up, we got Minnesota taking on the Predators tonight at 7, or excuse me, Tuesday at 7. Guys, what are you thinking?
You know, the Wild are one of the only few teams that are in the penalty box more than the Preds. So I think it's going to come down to who just scores more penalty goals. All right. So whoever comes out on top, let's just see which Preds defense shows up. But I'm going to still have to take the Wild on this one.
All right.
Yeah, the Preds are just too inconsistent. Sure, they're playing in Nashville. They're playing at Bridgestone. You got the home crowd behind them. You got the Catfish going, but the Wild.
I'm going to take the Wild in this one as well. All right, finally, Titans at Packers, Thursday Night Football at 7:15. What do you think?
Tannehill takes the win. Titans.
Packers are awful.
What?
Titans.
Only one team's going to win. That's the Green Bay Packers. I know I've been burned by this before, but we're going to win this game. No. All right. Thank you guys for sticking around to watch another stupendous episode of Sports Ballin'. Remember to come back next week on Blue Raider Television to catch our next episode. Thank you, and have an electric night.